offensive line. And this is the hotly contested, hotly debated topic right now in the Seahawks fandom. And it's ever, we always have a topic in Seahawks fandom, no matter what. There's always some given topic. Maybe it's a player, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's the team. There's always a topic that just has a lot of anger, rage, a differential of opinion. It just goes back and forth. And this one has been no different on this one. The Seattle Seahawks, it was announced yesterday, lost out on Tevin Jenkins. He went to the Cleveland Browns, that cash-rich organization. It's got a lot of people kind of at their wits' end in a lot of respects in the Seahawks fandom, as the Seattle Seahawks have gone through this free agency and seen the likes of the Joe Thuneys, the Ryan Kellys, the Drew Dahlmans, Mekhi Becton, who probably wouldn't have been as much of a scheme fit, but a guy that many people were looking at as being a guy you could add, Will Freeze. Just a lot of guys that you kind of missed out on that would have been in that sort of collection of really solid offensive linemen in this free agent period. And now you've missed out on that. Now it looks like you're going to go back down the same strategy you've gone for 10 years. So what I want to do here is really kind of get into the depths of this, if I can, a bit on this, okay? And for the people that think I'm going to be on negative on this, on the side of it, I'm actually kind of not. I'm going to kind of get into that place where we get into nuance as much as we can in football, and that's the place I'm going to land today in this offensive line discussion, okay? And that's why this is going to take me a little bit of time to try to unpack all of this a little bit and to try to, make some sense of it. The thing that I first want to just kind of address is that there are those out there, and honestly, I kind of see it in some of the Seahawks content creators out there right now talking about this a little bit. And it's a place that I tend to find myself being a little bit sensitive on this in regards to this discussion. And that is that they're sort of sitting there just in shock that Hawk fans are disgruntled by the lack of offensive line activity in free agency. And I don't quite get where their confusion comes into on this one. It's like they go, well, what do you expect him to do? This guy had that thing then, and this guy with the medical there, and that guy with the 5th year on that, and then this thing with that there, and then this. I mean, what were they to do? What was John to do? What was he to do? He was stuck, right? I mean, he just had to do what he had to do. And there's this run to sort of excuse away there's like a sprint to try to excuse away on every one of these signings you miss out on as to why it's okay, why there's no reason the Seahawks should have been in it, why it wasn't the right signing, and again, I'm coming this from the standpoint of not being the guy at the end of this that's going to be we should have pushed to sign these guys, that there was a huge mistake that you didn't sign these guys. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to speak to is some of the people, and even some of my people I see online speaking to this and talking to these folks, be it on Twitter and whatnot online, and trying to, kind of explain their frustration and why it's where it's at. And there's this whole, well, I don't just completely get where you're even coming from. What are you talking? And that's where I don't get it either. You guys are acting, those folks out there that are trying to paint this into kind of the positive corner of it for why they didn't get an offensive line or why they never go out there and do it, is that it's a 1-year thing. But this hasn't been a 1-year thing. That's why the frustration for those who are out there kind of confused by the frustration of the fandom. Why don't they understand we didn't sign Freeze and Dahlman, right? I don't get why. Let me explain it to you. Let me walk you through it. It's been 10 years. You've asked a fan base for 10 years to face an issue year after year after year after year after year. And now we're to the 10th year of that 10-year period. And now you're looking like you're going to do it into year 11. The same approach. So while I'm not with those people on saying that this is a catastrophe and that it's the worst thing ever, we didn't sign these offensive linemen, and oh my God, how could we miss out? I'm not in that place of things. But I'll tell you, I know where they're coming from. I don't share this like-minded approach somehow of John's walking on water, baby. And he just, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Nobody would be doing that. You can't be doing that. That's just what bad teams do. That's what, and the benefit of the doubt he's getting from some on this, I don't quite get how he's earned that benefit of the doubt. Earn the benefit of the doubt on hiring coaches, earn the benefit of the doubt on how he approaches the quarterback position, earn the benefit of the doubt on a lot of different situations. Absolutely. Absolutely. But when it comes to the offensive line, for people to not have that faith, for people to see him walking the same path of 10 years over, and for those people to then retract to that and go, what the hell's going on here? When is he going to get the message? I don't think those people are kind of out of pocket for thinking that. And I kind of don't understand why these people, I almost feel like there's a game being played here a little bit almost. When I see some of the discourse out there on this where it's look, support the team, support the general manager. I certainly do. And I like overall what they're doing because I'm not one of those people that are super up in arms in the lack of signing the offensive lineman. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because I was the guy advocating walking into this offseason for taking a step back. And what I see is from a big picture standpoint on the lack of addressing offensive line as far as spending money, and frankly, their approach to free agency in general throughout this offseason so far, is that I look at their moves and say they're doing exactly what I advocated for. How much future commitment, Seahawks folks out there, how much future commitment have we made this offseason really? I mean, really, truly, into 26 and 27? We know now that we can add the Sam Darnold contract after a year. with ease. You can get out of that Lawrence contract after a year with ease. None of the contracts have set us up in a position of we're going for it. We're pushing for it. I don't think the team's going to be bad. And there is a possibility this team can get out there next year and find contention, find their footing, go out there and make some noise. There is a way of them going out there and doing it. It doesn't mean that that doorway is closed completely. It just means that they're not hyper aggressively pushing for it. If you're going to sign multi-year deals to some of these offensive linemen on the open market, it means two different things. One, it means that you're going to have to be hyper aggressive to get these deals done. Number two, you're looking to put that future money commitment into 2020, 26 and 27, and you do feel like you can be a contender this year with real good utmost amount of confidence. I think they have relative confidence. I think they think if this thing goes right, if that goes right, if we get the development of the offensive line right, we get a nose tackle in here, we're able to replace the receiving core of the guys that we have lost. Our guys can stay a little bit more healthier on that backfield and offensive line in spots. Hey, yeah, you can get to that spot. Absolutely, you can get to that area of things. But that's where, to me, this was a little bit more about John's approach on this understanding of, I got to take the step back on this. We're not in the position to sign Geno. We're not in the position to sign DK. We got to get the interior of the offensive line fixed. There's a couple of other outlying parts in this team. If we're talking about looking at it through the team of being a contender, and John just said yesterday, it's not about merely being good. It's about trying to get to a contender stage. Straight from the horse's mouth in the interview he did yesterday. So if it's about getting to there, and not getting to there where you guess you're going to get there, but getting there to where you have a certainty of knowing that you're going to get there. That you're one of those teams that when they're writing it out on the board, those teams on paper that look like contenders, you're one of those teams that's right there with those teams. And you get there by not having so many question marks down the line, by solidifying things that have been weak points for years, like the offensive line. So I'm okay with this as an approach because I don't think that was what was going to go down this upcoming season. And this is where we come back to being, my heart goes out and the frustration goes out. My sympathy goes out to all those Hawk fans that are at their wits' end with this. And I get it. I don't happen to be in this spot of things because it's a complicated situation and there's a lot of play at this. And it's why I'm taking me forever to kind of explain this at the rip here. But I can get where they're coming from. I can see how I was in their standpoint, I'd be going, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. I'm kind of tired of this. This has gotten a bit to be old for me. I don't want to do this anymore. Going back down the line, watching an offensive line potentially, and you have set the stage for this offensive line once again to potentially sink not only the offense, but the team as a whole, which has happened a lot of times over this 10-year period. It's been by and large pretty bad over a 10-year period, but you've had many seasons over where you can go back and say, hey, what's the focal point of this team as to why we failed? What sits at the head of the stack as to the reasoning of that? You come back and you can find the offensive line is standing pretty tall as to the reasoning as to why. I get the people frustrating. I'm okay with this because I wanted to step back because I don't think that you were really ready to take that step forward in that major way this year. But I get where people are coming from. John's definitely dancing with this one where, he's going down the same strategy once again, and he seems pretty comfortable in his job. I think that this is more proof that he hasn't made these moves, that for those that are hoping that the seat under him would be warm or hot or any of that, that's not been the case now. That's not what's going on here. It is tough to watch because Tevin Jenkins was going to be a guy brought in, or any of these guys brought in, to hopefully just give you some solidity. I think this is where you see as well the kind of the straw man things come up too with the people on the other side that are just pro John every turn, where it's like, Tevin Jenkins wasn't going to come in here and be a savior. Like, who was saying Tevin Jenkins was going to be a savior? Let's present what it is that the people's frustration is truly built upon. Let's not, drum up, this enemy that doesn't really exist as your opponent on this side of the debate. Tevin was never meant to brought in to be that guy. I said myself, you come in, you sign him for the money you sign him for, and he gives you 13 games of a solid play a year. That's what you're hoping to get. Because you need some more steady eddies along this offensive line. You need some more assurity. And specifically for me, it wasn't even just about contending, just getting more of a veteran presence so you're not just relying on the rookies and the draft picks all the way down the line to carry this load, especially into next season. Because now it is going to be. Now, absolutely entirely, it will be on their back. These young players, these rookies, this coaching staff, it's now all on them to get this thing to step forward in a major way. A league worst like offensive line across the board, basically, has got to have all of its improvement now drawn upon those rookies and those second-year players that can come forward, and that Benton as an offensive line coach coming in and being a guru in that way. Might be able to get it done. Might be able to. But I've said in the past, my worry about this becomes, and one of the reasons I think it's failed in the past, is you have 3 different methods as an ability to get your offensive line in better shape. 3 different methods. You can spend in free agency, get certainty, and you got to spend top dollar to do it at that point. Might have to add an extra year on the deal than you'd like. Injury risk. That's one method. Trading for players, hard to do. Not a lot of offensive linemen on the open market, but it's another way to go out there and bring on offensive line talent. It's another method that you can bring to your disposal And then the third method, which of course, draft and development. And why this past 10-year period has not worked particularly well for your Seattle Seahawks, why the offensive line has failed, has been, yes, multiple reasons. Has the offensive line coaching been good over the span? No, it has not. Has the development been good? No, it has not. But it's also been those other first two items I just spoke about. You neither spend money big in free agency over this 10-year period, neither do you make any big major trades out there for quality offensive linemen, save for Dwayne Brown, which was a home run. Yet John Schneider has never gone back to trying to do that ever once again. He did it once and then said, okay, I'm good. Worked out great. Never going to need to do that again. And so then it all becomes the draft and development. And boy, that's really hard. That's really hard to just make that the only focusable way that you can increase this unit, especially when the development side of it has been such a slow going process.